views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey there, welcome to the Bronx Buzz. This is BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters and journalists and editors, and we've expanded it to include photographers and videographers and filmmakers. We always say it's anybody putting stuff out in the Bronx. And this evening, I am just absolutely thrilled. Talk about putting something out. Fred Kaufman has been the executive producer of one of the great programs of our lifetimes, and that is the program Nature, that is on PBS for 4 decades. You can do the 4 times 10. We're up to the 40th anniversary. Fred has told stories that connect viewers with some of the most amazing creatures in the world, and if you've ever seen the program even once, you're like, wow, what a world do we live in? And he's done it with a sense of humor, with a sense of passion, with a sense of artistry, and celebrating his 40th anniversary. It's my pleasure to welcome the executive producer of Nature, Fred Kaufman. Nice to have you with us.
Great. Well, great to be with you. Thank you.
Do you count? I mean, on my other program, Bronx Talk, we've done 1,322 shows. Do you know how many shows of Nature you have done?
I don't know how many shows, but certainly a few hundred. But I think I could say confidently that after 40 years, I've probably have seen as many, if not more, wildlife documentaries than anybody else on Earth. So I feel pretty comfortable saying that. I'm up there, and I don't think there's many, if anybody, else who's seen as many wildlife shows as I have.
Now, when you say wildlife shows of your own, plus you watch others,
Yeah,
presumably.
yeah,
Oh,
over
yeah.
40
So,
years of our own shows and screening shows and seeing other shows.
so one thing that comes up for me is that I know a lot of people. My guests have all, and so now I know them. And if I need contacts, whatever, I guess those animals don't claim to have relationships with you. They're like, oh, here's Fred again. He's coming out to shoot the rhinoceroses. I guess
Well,
that doesn't come
not
up.
not with me, but we know animals. Some species recognize human beings, and over the course of filming, they do recognize people, and they know what to expect. And I've seen it many times where animals are sort of wild animals are more docile around people that they've been around for years. So
Wow.
they don't recognize me, but they do recognize other humans.
And recognize that, wow, these are human beings. Ever been really scared? I mean, because when I watch the show, I'm scared for the photographers and people near there. I guess in the past, when you had to get much closer than you would now, I guess.
Never scared about the animals, but at times scared about the circumstances. For example, I'll never forget, we were doing a film on the volcano in Hawaii, and we went up in a helicopter at dawn. Beautiful light. It's not quite bright yet, but it's brighter than, it's not night, it's not dark. You have this beautiful blue sky. And we were just hovering over Kilauea, which is the bubbling volcano. And I was in the front passenger seat, and it was one of those bubble uh, type helicopters, so you could look down
Right.
at your feet and see below you. And the cameraman was behind us, and he was strapped in, but he was holding the camera, looking down, and his feet were dangling. And we were just hovering there.
Now I'm scared.
And I said to the camera, I mean, maybe 30 seconds into it, I said, okay, I think we got it. And he said, no, 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 not yet. And that was unsettling for me. That was,
Wow. And I mean, here I am thinking of charging rhinoceros or a tiger or whomever, but it was the human element that was most frightening.
it's the human element, it's the planes, it's the roads, it's the infrastructure of some of these third world countries that, could be quite dangerous. And you need to be careful, and you need to, be concerned about safety. Now, as far as animals are concerned, If you do anything that startles an animal where they're becoming defensive or wanting to attack, well, that's a huge no-no in my
Yeah, I
book.
was going to say that's got to be a mistake.
That's a
Try
mistake.
not to do that.
Exactly. So, we want to be in a place where we're observing and not sort of uh, affecting their behavior. So you never want to do anything that scares them or causes them to want to attack you.
I alluded to it earlier. I was thinking, especially looking at the expanse of 40 years and hundreds of programs, it must have been much more difficult in the past to get the kinds of shots that you can get now. Now there's drone technology if necessary. You can stop action and all that kind of stuff.
Well, let's take a drone, for example. In the past, we would have to hire a helicopter at about $400 an hour.
Wow.
And then we would have to put these stabilizers on the helicopter for the camera so the camera doesn't shake and you just get a vibrating
Right.
picture.
Wow.
And you had to get fuel for the helicopter. So to get the aerials back in the old days, it was a big endeavor and expensive, and you had 2 hours and to shoot it, and oh my God. And now with these drones, I mean, forget it. You drive out and your Subaru, you take the drone out of the
Yeah.
trunk
The,
and
the,
you go crazy with it.
this brings up another thing that occurred to me, and it occurred to me for the years of watching the program. You get the right moment of, two animals, I don't know, attacking two lions attacking a helpless a cub, a bear cub or something like that. You had to sit there for a long time, no? I mean, or did you just say, "Oh, must be lunchtime for the lions. Let's let's get in there." I'm thinking that you had to spend a ton of time waiting for those great
Yeah,
moments.
it's a combination of knowing where to be and when to be, all of that. But yeah, it's then you could be spending up to 2 weeks trying to get that one shot or longer.
Wow.
I mean, you could spend up to a month, in fact, waiting for that one shot. And let's say you do get a shot, well, you're just praying that you have good light. The camera's working, you're in the right position, nothing gets in the way. So not only do you have to be in the right spot, and there are all these other factors that have to all be working together to make it a real great scene, and edit it together. So yes.
Right. Listen, it's just a tremendous accomplishment. We talk about landing the man on the moon and all the other great things we can do. To me, the establishment of nature over 40 years is an accomplishment. Now, we're going to show, I guess, a preview of the 40th anniversary show. It's not very long, but this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. Uh, you're doing bees, and we're not talking about a hive of bees. We're talking about a bee. So we're ready to throw to it. Do you want to introduce it in some form? I mean,
Let me
talk
just
about technology. My goodness.
Yes, a fascinating story, having everything to do with the pandemic and the lockdown. So I'll start there and then show the clip, and I'll complete my thought on it.
Okay. So we're going to show the clip. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the 40th anniversary edition of Nature coming up October 20th. And on the Bronx Buzz, what could be more appropriate? Bees. Take a look.
In the spring of 2020, as the country goes into lockdown, outside, the garden is coming alive. As a wildlife filmmaker, I knew there were revelations here that could be just as amazing as anything I'd ever filmed.
These bees that just go,
Discovering the secret life of bees took me on a journey I was not expecting.
Well, there you go. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. The quality of it is just phenomenal.
Well, let me put
Now
this.
finish your story. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
let me put this in context for everybody. The guy who's filming and who's telling the story, his name is Martin Dorn, and he's probably the best wildlife macro photographer in the world. So if you're doing a film on ants or beetles or butterflies or anything like that, this is the guy you want to hire. So when we were all locked down and we couldn't go out, it gave him an opportunity to go into his garden and do something he was always curious about, and that is film the bees in his garden. But now that he couldn't travel and couldn't go anywhere, he could really spend some time doing that. So he has very specialized equipment, some of it built on his dining room table. He has specialized lenses. He has a vast knowledge of insects, and he had a year to film, and he filmed over 700 hours. And it's extraordinary what he discovered. I mean, it got to the extent where he had a relationship. He was able to identify one specific bee that he kind of
That
followed,
is unbelievable.
and got to know her a little bit. And so, when we talk about getting to know animals, and if you're shooting lions somewhere, you could, or chimpanzees, primates, sometimes they know who you are, and what you could do, and there's a thought process there. But bees, you think, come on.
My
Well,
goodness.
anyway, it's a hugely dramatic film, and his obsession over the hour trying to get close to them and detail their behavior.
One thing we do want to mention, because it is the Bronx buzz, is that Fred is, excuse me, a longtime Bronxite. One of the other things that you do, you're on the board of the Bronx Children's Museum, hasn't been able to be open yet because of COVID. We all know that that's going on. But this is another place that especially young people are going to get to discover our world.
Yes, I was thrilled to be asked to be on the board. I grew up in the Bronx, and it's a borough that needs help in terms of providing educational opportunities, institutions for young people to go to learn about the world we're in, or just experience something different. So I was thrilled to be asked. I've been on the board now for a couple of years. They're still building, but apparently there will be a soft opening by the end of the year, which we're all looking forward to. And COVID has, of course, prevented us from really spending time in the building.
Right.
I'm so
Fred,
proud.
we're almost out of time for this segment. I want to ask you one question. We've all learned from nature. Is there one thing that stands out for you in your personal growth and development that you've learned from being the executive producer of nature?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about the natural world, nature has an incredible ability to heal itself. And so when we see problems with the environment, that look doom and gloom, nature does have a way of healing itself if left alone and not unduly harmed. So there is great, I think, comfort and optimism knowing that nature can clean itself up and protect itself and create an environment for all living things. But we need to leave it alone, and there's just so much stress we can put on nature.
And I guess as a concluding statement, there's no way to divorce what you have done from the natural world. I mean, after all, the program is called Nature. Fred Kaufman, congrats on 40 years. Listen, I hope there's more than 40 to come and for the future, because we've got to keep appreciating the greatness of our beautiful, wonderful planet. And I certainly hope that you'll come back. I don't know, for number 41 or anytime you have something interesting for Bronx people. We want to have you back. Thank you very much. Congratulations to you, to all your colleagues at PBS, and let's everybody get on there October 20th for the anniversary show and all the other ones in the future. We appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will go to a reporter. We're going to talk about some of the issues in the Bronx. Don't go away.